Welcome to Chat with Nomads, where we uncover travel insights, business advice, adventure stories, and lifestyle tips with world travelers and digital nomads. Here is your host, Rax, from nomadsunveiled.com.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Chat with Nomads. Today we have with us the J Jetter, social media marketer and digital nomad mom, Julia. Hey Julia, welcome to the show.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. So I was very excited to talk to you because you have basically been through like the three process from traveling alone and then traveling as a couple and now traveling around the world with kids. So you've been through like many different stages around the world, right? So why don't you start with an introduction of yourself so we can know more about your background?
Yeah, sure. I think I have to go back to 2011 when I started the travel thing, so to say. Back then, I quit my job in Germany. I'm originally from Germany, and I decided I just want to have a break. You know, I was working a lot. I had an exciting job back in Munich in a communications agency, and every day was different. I had a lot of events to run and organize, and so I was literally like living for my job back then. And there came a point when I realized it's not as fulfilling as I thought it would be. And I noticed that I needed something to change. And I wasn't really sure what it was, but a friend of mine suggested, why don't you just take a break and go traveling for a while? Because she just came back from a year from Mexico and she said it was the best decision, just having this break and this other perspective on her life and what she wanted to do. And I was like, oh, this is crazy. Who would want to hire me if I go on a because she suggested 3 to 6 months. And I said, wow, that's a long time. And back then I was completely in a different mindset. And I thought, oh, my CV, it looked perfect. And up until this point, I went to university and had all the, necessary career steps to get me where I was at that moment. And then for some reason, it still resonated with me. And this nagging voice was there. And it actually didn't take me that long because I was also feeling a lot of the symptoms. I don't say I had a burnout, but I was getting a lot more exhausted. And I was like, even for a few weeks, I was sick and I couldn't get rid of that cough. And I was like, what is going on? My body was sending me signals. And I was like, okay, something has to change. Maybe that friend was right and I should go on a break. So funnily enough, even though I thought it was only a break, I sold everything. I thought I don't know why. It was an intuition. I thought, okay, I need to get rid of all this stuff because I don't want to take care of, I didn't want to rent out my apartment. I didn't want to move my things to a place and then pay monthly for storage and stuff like that. So I sold everything. And the things that I couldn't sell, I was lucky enough to be able to put at my parents' basement. And it's still there. So, I got this around the world ticket. It's basically an open ticket around the world that lets you travel in one direction. All you need to do is pick a location, but you're flexible in choosing the dates. So this was dangerous because it meant that every time I got to a place, I could actually make up my mind again and extend my stay there, which I did every time. So I started out in India. I went to Singapore. I went through also Southeast Asian countries, or not all, but many of them. And I went to Australia, New Zealand, South America. And then I was supposed to go home. But by the time I got to Bali, I realized, okay, this time frame that I had planned out, it doesn't work. I'm already, almost 3 months in and I haven't even done half of my route. How will I ever manage to see all South America? And and so I realized, okay, I have to readjust my plans. And so the 3 months turned into 1 year. And by the end of the first travel year, I was traveling through Chile. And I met my partner, who's the dad of my children today, also in the middle of the Atacama Desert.
Wow.
So we met, we fell in love, and this was another motivation for me to make it work. Because by the end of the first year, I realized, okay, I don't want to go back to Germany. And I had met many inspirational people on the way. I saw different lifestyles. I realized, okay, it's not only in your home country where you can make money. There are different types. I mean, of course, I had heard that before, and of course, I seen other stories. But it dawned on me, like when I was living and traveling through it, I was like, okay, this brainwashing machinery back home, where they always tell you have to, follow a certain path, and if A leads to B, you have to do C. It's bullshit, right? So I was like literally waking up, and I was like, okay, what if I just take my hand into my hands and do whatever I want to do and not what other people are saying? And yeah, I mean, it's a process. I'm telling you this in a nutshell, but it was like there were many small baby steps that led me to decisions and to the mindset that I'm having today, obviously. But I took a few different decisions, and I canceled my return ticket to Germany. I decided to stay with a guy and try to find out if my feelings are really more profound, or if it's just a fling, if it's just something that happens. And well, it turns out to be after almost 10 years, we're still happy and together, and it's still the one. So it was a good decision. Yeah, the way it went was simply that we both said, I had the travel bugs in me, so I was like talking nonstop how awesome traveling is and how awesome it is to see the world. And so he was actually on his way to Brazil back then. He had quit his job due to a crisis in his country, an economic crisis. So he said, okay, I'm out of here. I take a break too. And so we both were in that stage where we said, okay, something new has to come. We will use traveling as a channel of finding what we want in life. And this was lucky that we both had the same mindset. Now I don't think it was coincidence, but you can use the word coincidence if you don't.
Maybe it's fate.
Maybe it's fate, or whatever you want to call it. But it was perfect timing, I'd say. And and from then we started traveling together.
So your husband was also just started, because I understand he's Chilean as well, right? And you basically met him in the north of Chile,
yes.
Atacama. And back then, was he just also like traveling for vacation, or was he also starting to look into basically like, indefinite travel and just see where the road takes him?
No, for him it was even a little bit more different than in my case. So he, like I said, he quit his job, but he always wanted to go to Brazil, and said, okay, I take this chance and opportunity that I'm having now, a little bit of time, and I do a bit of traveling in the neighboring countries, and then he wanted to go back to his country and get a job in his industry again. And he's an engineer, and he said, okay, I mean, I studied long, I want my career to continue. And but at the same time, he wasn't really happy with it either. So he also went through that. Okay, I did everything I was supposed to do, but my career is not fulfilling me. And by the time we were actually then heading from South America to Asia, because I'm a real passionate scuba diver. Mm-hmm. And my crazy idea was back then, let's go to Asia, get our diving instructor licenses, and let's make a living from teaching diving,
Yeah.
And that was the only thing that a spontaneous idea that came up. And so when we were in Thailand, someone in Chile reached out to him, offering him a job back in Chile. So I think this was 1 or 2 months after he left his home country. And obviously we were also a fairly new couple, and it wasn't like, certain that we would spend our lives together back then. So it was a very uncertain stage. And it took him some time to make this decision against the job, because this job meant security. This job meant I go back to everything I know. This job meant also, following a normal life like everyone else does. Mm-hmm. And then there was little me telling him, what if it's not, what if we find something else to make this work? And what if we stick together and do this on our own terms? So I was really persistent in convincing him that there is a life outside his country. And I did it. I mean, he always says it's your fault that we're doing this.
That obviously paid off though. But when he got the job, what were you guys doing for income, or you were just traveling off savings still at that time?
Oh yeah. So of course I had a hard time because my word against his lowering funds. So luckily a few days later, or I'm not sure how much time later after that job offer, but shortly after, there was a Chilean guy. We met a Chilean guy in Bangkok who was just on vacation because he lived in Australia by that time. And he said, "Oh, you guys, Australia is amazing. You can make money so easily. There's jobs for everyone. And I'm a chef and I cook for this mining industry there and this miners. And I get paid, the salary is like triple as much as in Chile. And I can save and being. So my job was becoming suddenly very easy. And I said, what if we go to Australia?
But Australia is a very common place for people to go for like workaways. I know a lot of students like in between, different like doing gap years or like they're transiting from one education level to another. They always go to Australia to do like, I don't know, work in a farm or something. And I think the minimum wage there is pretty high.
Yeah. I mean, it's really a no-brainer when you are under 30 and still have this opportunity. In my case, I got a working holiday visa for 1 year. For Chileans, it wasn't so he had to get a student visa, but it wasn't also that hard. But both visas gave us the opportunity to work there and actually make money and save some money and have a little bit more time to think about what we're going to do next. And that's what we basically did. We got there and worked in all the random backpacker jobs in, waiting in restaurants, working in a hotel, being a concierge, parking cars and stuff like that. For me, this was really fun because I had never done that before. And it was an experience. I had fun doing it. And then at the same time, I got approached by former clients from the agency that I used to work in Germany for. And they said, okay, so if you're not coming back, can you maybe help us with our projects remotely? And that's when it clicked for me, because I realized, okay, there is such a thing that I can actually, make money in my profession and not being in Germany and don't have to slave away for, parking cars wasn't really the thing. I mean, it was fun for a few weeks, but it wasn't really the thing I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And I then realized, okay, I have to do something else and scale these client work. So if I can do that for them, I could definitely do it for other people. And then one thing led to another. I met people in Australia who also knew about my professional background, and they said, okay, I'm working on my Amazon business. I need help with translating text. So I did a bunch of different things, not only marketing, PR, and social media related. I was freelancing in copywriting. I was translating, like I just said. I was doing transcripts for an app, a running app, many things, but it helped me understand that there are a bunch of different options out there that you can do online and make money online. And it helped both of us to get rid of that thought, okay, only in an office or only in your home country or only, in a physical offline way you can make money. And that was the breakthrough for our mindsets.
Yeah, that's interesting, right? Because I think going back to your early days, the first point is really about Singapore is a bit the same in Germany, whereby we always believe that, you have to go through the office route, get a stable job, and then, that's how you create a good life. What's interesting that I would like to hear from you is also that I guess there's a lot of people wanting to like, just quit and go and travel and stuff. And I think they do know about things of like odd jobs or workaways. And it's sometimes easy for students to go into it because, students they are not making any money anyway. So going to do all these jobs is already like a natural progression. You are making money. But going from a corporate job or so-called a stable corporate job and then going into this, that people will definitely have insecurities about like, hey, this doesn't sound right? But for you, what was the mindset that you had when you went to do it? Because you also mentioned that all these are really new for you.
Absolutely. And I 100% agree. And looking back, I mean, I totally love my family and friends. Back then, no one really called me out and said, "Hey, you are crazy." Actually, they were very supportive, and they always thought, "Okay, now she's doing something. Yeah, but she'll be back eventually," and things like that. Obviously, everyone knew that this was only a phase, but for me, it was really refreshing. And like I said, I mean, it helped me to get clearance on what I really want, because I felt really like close to a burnout, and I had put a lot of energy in my work back in Germany. So doing things that didn't require as much energy and still got me money was a very simple way of just surviving, and figuring out what I really wanted. Of course, I don't say do that, copy my example in this way. You can, and it doesn't. I mean, it still can lead you somewhere, but that is why today I'm a coach and help people to set up an online business, like in a proper way.
Mhm.
I don't include in my coachings go for 1 year and do random backpacker jobs. I don't do that, but it's always a nice anecdote, and it helps people understand how important mindset is. And this is one of my first modules that I always go through when I start coaching, that I say, okay, I can tell you and give you all the advice out there, but if you're not in the right mindset, you have to be in the right headspace. Otherwise, no plan is good enough. And you really have to believe it and suck it up and say, okay, I'm now the one who will make this happen. And once you do that, and once you realize, okay, hopefully if they see someone else who has done it, then this is inspiration enough and motivation enough. Okay, if she can do it, I can do it too. Because I want to stress that, I mean, I know I'm not special, and all the other people that I meet out there, of course, they have a certain, motivation and also skills that they picked out and say, now I want to focus on this. This is really, really key. But they're people like you and you and me. And so I think everyone can try out this lifestyle at least once in their life. And I'm actually on a mission. I do have my own podcast, and every time I finish the episode saying, my mission is accomplished if you guys at least try it out once, because it's amazing. And your old life is always there waiting for you. It will always be there. You can always go back. And the fear, and this number one obstacle that most people think, and that I had initially too in the beginning, what if I go and do that and then I come back? Will anyone ever be hiring me again? That's bullshit. Especially nowadays in times like COVID, employers are looking for people who are a little bit more open-minded, thinking out of the box, and have experience in organizing their days by themselves and on their own. And I mean, that's clearly not a criteria for if you ever wanted to go back. And I highly doubt that you will, once you really got the taste of this freedom. Then, well, yeah, I'd say it's dangerous.
I definitely agree with you on the part about mindset and really getting exposure to it, because one of the things I always tell people as well is that you can always buy a ticket and fly back anytime you want. There's no rule to say that, hey, I have to go and then I have to stay for a year, because this might not be for everyone. Like some people will do it and they realize they don't like it, but it's okay. So you realize you don't like it. At least you have tried it, right? And I don't think anyone ever regrets traveling per se. I mean, they might not like traveling long term, but traveling in general is always like a fun journey, right? Very few people will say that, hey, shit, I shouldn't have gone for this trip and the whole trip sucks. I mean, that's pretty rare. So regardless, the time will be well spent. You will have enjoyed yourself. You realize that whether this is for you or this is not for you. And when you tap into the community and you see that other people are doing it, and like you say, it's just normal people. There's nothing that special about any of us, right? And it's just really taking the steps to build it towards that direction.
Yeah, exactly. And even if it's just, if the only thing you take away from your trip is that at least you had the guts to try it out. Because I think it's the worst thing when you get to the end of your life and you say, oh, I wish I had done that. I think that is one of the worst feelings that you can have. So trying it out simply go for it.
For sure. I mean, regret is the worst. I definitely agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but for you, it obviously worked out like really well. And I think there's something that I need to ask because building relationships has been a big problem for many digital nomads, as you probably already know in the community. Everyone is like
Yes.
complaining about, hey, how do you form lasting relationship? Not just in terms of love, but even in terms of friendship is also like difficult sometimes, right? But you actually managed to find the one that actually kept it going, right? So what's your secret to it?
Well, I mean, to be honest, I don't know. I mean, I don't know why we crossed paths, but at the moment I saw him, I knew it was the one. It was really weird, and it sounds cheesy, and I'm not making this up now after 10 years knowing, okay, it worked out. But I looked at this guy and I thought, oh shit. I actually said to the friend that I was traveling with, I said to her, don't make me talk to this guy. And she said, why? Because I might really like him. And then we ended up talking by accident. And well, one thing led to another. And I really felt like, oosh. 2 days later, I left the place because I had a bus ticket already. And I said, okay, was I nice meeting you, but I gotta go. And it was like kind of getting out there, running. And I knew inside, I knew I was coming back, even though it wasn't in my plans back then. And we had just exchanged our, numbers, and we said goodbye. And it was, just nice meeting you. And that was all. But I definitely had this intuition and this attraction to him. And apparently he did too, because then after a few days and weeks being apart, we exchanged, and I was just being very honest. And I said, something, I can't stop thinking of you. I was just telling him this. And he was like, oh, I'm so glad you said that. It's the same for me. And it's so weird. And and then of course we talked about it. And I guess many factors played into it, that it actually worked out well. In our case was we were both in the same stage of our lives. Like, I'm sure it wouldn't have worked if he was in a corporate job with just being from 9 to 5 in his office job, and me still, because we both wanted to travel. We both were open towards whatever happens will happen. And we both also were open for a new relationship. I mean, we both had obviously our past partners, but we were ready for something new. So many of these factors you need to tick. And so it was just perfect timing. And yeah, he is a great guy, and he turns out to be one of the best. Oh no, he is the best dad that I can wish for.
That's nice.
I consider myself lucky, really lucky. And at the same time, I know it's every day 100% a lot of work. Like in every other relationship, we do have very intense relationship, because from day one we were always together, and we didn't have this dating phase, because we immediately moved in together, or we lived in the same hostel back then. And so there wasn't really space for us to actually let this relationship grow. And then there was times of crisis. We also thought about getting separated again. We were really fighting a lot, and then coming together again. And we've been through all the stages like other couples as well. I don't say it's all fairy tales and honeybees or whatever you want to call it. And if you ask him today, are you happy? Maybe he will say, no, she didn't clean the dishes today. But maybe tomorrow he will say, yeah, of course, it's amazing. I don't know.
So do you actually think that starting a relationship on the road traveling, do you find it better than, let's say, if you're just dating back home, or do you think it's actually a good thing or it's a bad thing?
No, it can be both. And it's so individual, like the question of starting your online business on the road, because it requires a lot of effort and dedication and persistence. And what we did was really full on. I mean, we started dating, creating, this relationship together, and then also started an online business on the road. So full on. And then the kids came. So many things, many elements in our lives that I'd say if you can do them separately, yes, it's definitely going to be a lot easier for you if you can focus on one thing first and then the next. But life never plays according to plan, I'd say, and we just embraced it every time and every stage that came our way. And but if you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend back home and you're now thinking about doing this travel thing, and if you can't convince him or her coming with you, do it anyways, because if she or he is really the one, they will wait for you. They might even get inspired by your activism and courage, or it's not the one and you will really find your true inner self first on the travel, because I think that's important. I was traveling 1 year solo before I met him, and this obviously was a lot of time that gave me a lot of time to focus on myself. And it was definitely not only a journey around the world for me, but a journey inwards. And I don't say that I found myself within this 1 year, because I did a lot of crazy ticking off bucket list things. So I was actually quite busy finding out what I wanted from this travel trip, this trip, But it helped me initially to get some distance to my past relationship, and also knowing what I didn't want in my next partner.
That's interesting.
So I'd say, yeah.
So speaking of which, how do you see the world differently when you travel? I'm sure you see the world differently actually, but how is it different when you travel as a solo traveler, then as a couple, and then now with kids?
Yeah, I mean, traveling solo is an experience that I wish everyone can make, because it is really a constant push that you feel, and it pushes you out of your comfort zone. And I think this is so important. Like I just said, it helps you become comfortable with feeling uncomfortable, if that makes sense. Like, for example, my first time when I was sitting there having dinner alone I think it was even in Singapore, because the first month in India I was with my best friend, but then she went back to Germany and I moved on to Singapore, and then I had to really go out and grab dinner all by myself. This was so weird for me, and I was like, where do I even look? I don't know. I'm just eating like this. No one, please don't talk to me. I was scared. I didn't know what this all was. And I was insecure, and I had all the fears that people, you hear all the stories, people would approach you. And I don't know what I thought, but I wasn't feeling comfortable at all. And I still had to do it because obviously I needed to eat. And then slowly but surely I was easing in, and I thought, okay, even talking to random strangers while you're having dinner isn't that horrible. And then it got a lot of, this shyness out of myself, and realizing that, actually being open towards other people gives you more benefit, because every conversation can bring you a new spark into your life and a new perspective. And it's so refreshing. And I then, what I hated in the beginning, like eating out on myself, turned into one of my most favorite activities throughout the trip. And so having this experience, I think, is extremely valuable, because even now in my business, I'm not afraid of reaching out to other people. If you want to apply this to the online world now, because a lot of my business works because I'm reaching out, or like with you. I mean, we got in touch and you reached out, and then having no some sort of blockage or fear or resistance, which I know many people are fearing of or suffering from. I think it really does help improving, and makes it a lot easier. And then obviously also, when you travel alone, you can choose whatever you want to do. How great is that?
Yes.
No, I don't want to see Machu Picchu today. I do it in 3 days or whatever, I mean, picking your own pace, the things you want to see, the people you want to hang out. It's nice to have. It's really nice to have. But then at the same time, I have to admit, I'm always a people person, and really love also hanging out with other people. I was missing to have this when you especially when I was sitting and watching at sunsets, then I was like, it's a wonderful sunset and I really do enjoy it. And I'm very grateful for being there, sitting there. But then at the same time, I wasn't able to turn around and say to someone, how awesome is this a sunset? It's really something different when you can share this happiness and this feeling, the special moment. But like I say, I don't regret having the first you all to myself. And then I'm very grateful that my partner came into my life, and then I could relive the same moments and the same feelings and sharing it with someone special. So yes, I'd say this is one of the most different things. And then obviously, yes, as soon as you have someone else in your life, you adjust and you ask, what would you like to do? And you notice, okay, what you love might not be exactly the same. You might not share the same feeling. And then you compromise. You do one day what the other person wants, or you realize that sleeping in a hostel isn't for you, or for your partner. And then you need to find alternatives. But I don't know. I mean, I didn't mind. And I think this is also the beauty of this lifestyle, teaching you flexibility and staying flexible. I think this is one of the key factors that I discovered for myself, that as soon as you have a dogmatic way of living, it turns into a toxic way of living. So whenever there's a change or whenever something new comes in, comes my way, I actually say, okay, maybe I didn't plan it, but I want to look at it from a positive angle and embrace the change and really try to make it work and fit it in any ways. Because how boring. I mean, I escaped my old life because I didn't want that routine anymore. So why would I now cling to a routine if it's not necessary? And then, of course, when you have kids, everything changes, and you do have to adjust everything. Like your needs are not important anymore. And in the beginning, you really only worry about how the little ones are feeling. Where do we need to be in order to be able to feed them, clean them, and everything changes. So I'd say if I want to wrap this all up and the past 10 years, I'd say my solo travel year was a speedo. Tick, 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 tick. I want to see as many bucket list things as possible. The couple phase, the 5 years of traveling with my partner, was from slow travel to speed travel, a mixture of both. And we also spent 1 year in Canada and 1 year like I said, in Australia, half a year in Chile. So we also were thinking about staying some places longer, but then still decided again to move on again. And then, yeah, as soon as our first son was born back in 2017, we first made sure that he's travel proof, took him on a road trip and looked how it is actually with traveling, traveling with kids. And as soon as he passed the test, we just decided to go to places where we already knew that there are other families.
Yep.
So we were in the same environment and have, obviously also for us, good connections. And then also, I mean, I wouldn't go with a newborn to India, for example. So I picked places where I knew, okay, I could have those commodities that I was thinking that were necessary in the beginning. But now, I mean, my eldest now will turn 4 in May, and the little one will turn 2 in May. And I'd say they're ready to go anywhere with us, as long as they're,
really?
Yes,
That's nice.
absolutely. And it's also, a big learning for me is whenever you as a parent feel good, your kids will feel good. So if you're worried about traveling and if you're tense and nervous, it will definitely mirror in your children, and everything can blow up and turn into a nightmare. But as soon as you realize, okay, we're just moving from one place to the next, and the journey is actually the fun part, and make fun out of it. You have to always think about, for them, they don't know that you're now hopping on a long haul flight. You just have to make every minute as much as comfortable for them, fun, entertaining, and the journey is the goal. Like not the. There's a saying in German. I'm trying to translate it right now, but you get my point, I hope.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
So that's actually a very good point, because I obviously have no experience with it, but I reckon a lot of parents, when they travel with kids for the first time, especially when you're talking about long haul flights, they would definitely get nervous about it. And it's good to know that it's actually a reflection to the kid. If you keep it, if you stay relaxed and everything, that might actually help. But that might actually be better than panicking and just being worried about it.
That's true. Yeah.
So do you guys plan to have the kid? Like, you already decided that, okay, now we are going to try to start traveling with a kid, and you guys made plans before that?
No. So it was always on and off. Sometimes, like up until my 30s, like 30, I think 31, I was convinced kids is not really in the plans. And I somehow I thought, yeah, maybe, but maybe not. And I was always like not so sure about the topic. And my partner, he was actually also, kids is really going to change everything. He's coming from a big family, and he's the second eldest from 6 brothers. And when he was a child, he had to actually take care of the little ones. And he said, I went through all this, and it's just work. It just means work. So we were having for the longest like this type of mindset. And then, of course, hormones and your biological clock is playing its part, and it tells you, what if, and then this voice came into my head again. What if? And I was actually, when we were on one of the Nomad events out there, we were having a conversation, or there was a talk about the future of nomads and what happens when all the initial nomads who started this lifestyle, what happens when we get to this stage in life to decide if we have children or not? Should we plan? And there was actually a wild discussion on if we create schools around the world in order to make it easy to get education on the road. And so this was the first time when I thought, okay, kids don't necessarily mean an end to our lifestyle, and kids might be in the plans. And so when I was 33, we had this conversation, and we said, okay, we're not getting any younger, and I don't want to be a mother when I'm 40. So if we're doing this, we should be doing this now. and we said, okay, well, we didn't really plan it, but we said, okay, if it happens, it happens. It was that year where we said, okay, now let's just life decide if there is a child for us or not, and when it comes our way. Yeah, so we were just hopping off a cruise ship that took us from Colombia to Portugal, and then we had plans to visit friends in Europe and travel all over Europe. And then I was booked on a conference in the Philippines after that. So basically, this entire year was already laid out with travel plans. And I think when we were in Berlin, I noticed I need a nap, which I never did. And I suddenly was craving chocolate ice cream, which I never did. And I was like, okay, something is happening. What's going on? And I was so tired. It was just tired day. And then it turned out to be, the baby was on its way. And it was like, I was wildly in shock, because I thought, it happened so fast. But like I said before, I was embracing the change, and still we decided to keep on and keep up with our travel plans. And then we went from Berlin down to Munich. We even went to the Oktoberfest. I didn't drink any beer, obviously, but we were still there meeting friends, because that was in our plans. We went afterwards to Dubai, and then from there to the Philippines. I went to that conference and made some good connections. And then actually we were we were a little bit clueless what to do next, because on that conference, I met someone who offered me a business opportunity in Melbourne. And by then we had already discussed several times, should we go back to Australia? We loved it there so much. And it had been, I think, 3 or 4 years that we left Australia. So it was kind of the moment where we said, oh yes, it feels right, let's go to Australia. And then baby can be born in Australia. He will be an Australian citizen. Awesome. Sounds good. Sounds like a good plan. So from the Philippines, our tourist visa was running out. We moved to Bali in order to do all the paperwork that were necessary to get a visa for Australia again. And I was 5 months pregnant, and it was just before Christmas. And the news came from my mother in Germany saying that she was diagnosed with cancer.
Oh.
And this was just blowing my entire world. Like, I was like, I was extremely emotional, obviously, because when you're pregnant, you're emotional all the time. Yeah. B, it was, I hadn't seen her in almost 5 years. And C, it was Christmas, so everyone was getting these family vibes. And I was like, just saying, okay, stop it. I want to go straight away to Germany. I don't want to go to Australia. We'll go now. So we canceled everything in Australia, booked a ticket to Germany. And that's actually why my first son was born in Germany. I never thought that. And it was really, really weird. And after being outside of my country for more than 5 years, it was like, it was very hard for me to get back into the system, because once we decided we stick around for a while to see how my mom does, and spoiler alert, she's doing great. I mean, she smiles. So I think being so close to us and also seeing her grandson, grow and coming to this world gave her such an energy boost, and she was so happy. She didn't even do any chemo or any therapy afterwards. She was just being with us, and it was amazing. I don't say that you can cure cancer with a newborn, but in her case, it really helped her a lot with her, everything. And so, we hung around for a while and did some trips from Germany within Europe. And then after he was 1 year, we decided, okay, it's time to say goodbye again, and we will go traveling around the world again.
Oh, that's interesting. It's funny how life changes, right? Like when you have everything planned out, it always changes. It's almost like travel plans. Like you can plan 3-4 months ahead in advance, and then COVID hits and everything is just
exactly
different. Yeah. So how do you juggle between family, work, and travel these days?
Oh yeah, it's a constant process and learning curve. We have set up a pretty decent system for us, but it took us some time. So in the beginning, we both wanted to be always there for our children. And as soon as the second one, our second son, he was born in Spain, and we were there for 6 months for his birth or after his birth. And then we had to obviously adjust our schedules again. But we had like this idealistic vision that we can be there for our children all the time, both, and make money. But it didn't really work well. So so now after some time, we know, okay, we have to simply split the work. Whenever I have an appointment like with you today, I know I blocked the entire morning for myself because I will get some work done afterwards. And then in the afternoon, we swap. My partner, he will do some work, and I watch the kids. And that is actually a pretty good system. So we plan our weeks ahead. Like we have a calendar, we fit in all our appointments. So we know this day I definitely need time to work, or this day he definitely needs time to work on his project. And then we just make it work. And it's adjust our and so it's obviously a luxury, because our type of work also allows us to adjust our schedules. And so my biggest recommendation is, like, if you have children, or if you plan to have children, then make sure that you can do some set up your online business the way that you can also take one day off, even if it's a Monday.
Yeah, that's nice. I reckon the schedule actually also helps you to be more productive, right? Because now you know that I only have like say 4 hours to get my stuff done, so I better get my stuff done, then later I can have time for my kids. Oh, that's actually good.
Yes. Someone said this the other day. It's funny that you also notice it, but if you want to be more productive, get kids. Go get kids. Because it's really true. I mean, I also, I don't want to procrastinate things because, well, I need to get things done. And then also I want to spend time with my kids. So the longer I bum around and do nothing, the less time I get to spend with them, or the less money I make, which also is not a good result I want to have.
Yeah, that's true. And how do you handle like their education at the moment? Because just now we were also talking about like, nomadic schools, and world schooling is obviously now getting more and more popular. So how are you doing that part right now?
For now, I mean, they're 2 and 4. We're still not in the age group where they have to go to school. But obviously the 4-year-old and also our youngest, we just, life is you can learn every day something, and we just let them pick whatever they're interested in. So we help them write and read, and it's basically for now it's just us. We tried kindergarten here also on the island in Koh Phangan where we are. There are a bunch of alternative kindergartens where we thought, okay, we can try it out. But our eldest, he doesn't want to. He says, as long as I have to go there alone, I'm not going. And he just wants to hang around at home, and he is happy when he can play at the beach or in the garden, and he's counting seashells or builds, makes his constructions with wood in the garden, and then gets his lessons in everyday life. I'm not worried about it. And I have also, this has also been obviously a process. And in the beginning I thought, we need to figure this out until he's 5. But now I feel like, no, there will be an opportunity or an option popping up, I'm sure, either if it's in form of a nomadic school by then, or if it's, we're currently also talking to some teachers who are here on the island who are willing to do organize a play/learning group, which is nice, and every new input and extra event that helps encouraging the little brains to learn, I'm open towards it, but I'm not under this pressure. I mean, I live this lifestyle in order to not being forced into systems. So why would I now impose something onto my children where I think it's not necessary? I'm sure he's going to learn reading and writing one day. And I don't care if he does that now or if he does it with 5 years old. I mean, I would be worried if he cannot do that before he turns 10. But of course, I'm just kidding. But I think education is also one topic that people have to rethink again, because sitting in school doesn't mean that you learn something.
Yeah, I have spoken to like some nomadic families that do world schooling, and I've so far seen like they are very happy with how the progress of their kids and how the kids are growing up. I think they're learning a lot more. I also think it's a lot of like that day I had a podcast with one of this world schooling family, and it's a lot about life skills, right? Like one thing is, I think because your kid is so used to being in different environments, his adaptability to life and to environment grows up with him. I think we see in us ourselves as in that. Just now we were also talking about how when you are too comfortable in a certain zone, and the longer you are in this particular zone, the harder it is for you to start trying new stuff.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, if you are traveling alone and you're always trying new things suddenly becomes way easier, and you're more open to it.
Yeah.
So for kids, I think it's even better because, I mean, when humans are younger, that's the time when we actually learn the most. And growing up in this kind of environment kind of helps them develop that kind of skills.
Yeah, and if I look at my 4-year-old, he speaks Spanish and German because we speak
Wow.
that at home. But then on top of that, he picked up English because most people speak English here, and then he knows some Thai words. And the neighbor boy is a Russian, so the other day he said "davai," and I was like, "You're now speaking Russian too," And I was like, "Okay, this is so amazing to see how when they're so young, whatever they're drawn to, and they're like sponges. I don't have to worry that much as a parent. At least that's what I believe. And yeah, like you say, they're trained now already to be open-minded, flexible, and all the skills that I think that are very important in nowadays lives.
That's interesting. So just now you already gave your tip for moms who wants to go traveling, right? So I guess the other interesting question that I really have for you is most of your clients I assume come from a background that they want to become digital nomads or they want to work remotely, right? But they don't know how to. And what's the most common question or problem that you see most of them coming to you with? And what's your advice to that?
It's interesting that you're saying this because I actually have a mixture of common clients. So some of them, like you say, are really the aspiring digital nomads, and they are always have the basic questions: How do I do it? Which countries are the safest? Especially when they're moms, then safety is always the biggest question. How do I connect with how, or where do I find the communities in order to have other children for my children to play with? How do I do it with, health insurance, visas, etc.? This is something that I really enjoy talking about, and I'm happy to help anyone getting, started with all these basic questions. But then I also have, I'd say 50% of my clients are also people who are already out there, who are already having either an idea or they're having already set up an online business, but they want to get help because they say, I'm not reaching my ideal client. I'm not getting stable income from what I'm doing. I don't know if my idea is good enough, if, they need validation for the idea. So I'm actually helping them not only create their online business, but scale it too, and making their brands more visible on social media. So the range of questions are really very, very different. But because I'm also I love this lifestyle, and I'm an advocate for the nomadic lifestyle. I really do want people to try it out once, and if they have questions, I'm more than happy to help them. And at the same time, I'm passionate about marketing. That's my background, to my professional background, and I think social media nowadays is one amazing tool in order to get seen, get your product seen, your clients, connect with your clients, and eventually make a sustainable income. So I'm combining it and helping in both areas.
Yeah, that sounds like a good combination now that I hear you say, because it really does incorporate both aspects of it. A lot of nomadic businesses rely on the internet, and social media is a big part of that. So I can definitely see the tie in there. Are you seeing a lot more interest these days? Because I personally see, like, since COVID started, like a lot of people, it's just a time of reflection, right? During COVID, like you have more time to yourself and you start thinking about, hey, there's this life of traveling that I always wanted to do. Maybe now is the time to, jump ship and change to another career and stuff. So are you seeing more interest from that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, COVID has been, really revolutionary in this sense. And a lot of people are now pushed towards thinking and coming up with new ideas and looking towards other options and lifestyles. So yeah, I've been approached a lot more in the last year. So I'd say it's good for both sides, not only for people who are either creating an online business or are looking into remote work, freelancing, because there is, there's opportunities out there for everyone. And also, if you say, okay, I don't want to run my own business, but I want to work remotely, companies are now so much more open towards that, obviously. And so making that shift and saying, okay, I'm transitioning 100% to remote work. Now is the time, and building a sustainable like portfolio and position yourself as the remote worker out there. I think it's a smart move.
Yeah, I'm definitely seeing a lot of people trying to go towards that direction as well. So that's a really interesting thing. Yeah, thank you so much for coming on today, Julia. It was a nice conversation. Yeah, I love hearing about your stories because it's like all over the place. You're going to this place, that place, and how life changes accordingly.
Thank you so much. It was fun. I always love talking about it.
Thank you for listening to Chat with Nomads. Please remember to subscribe and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. And be sure to share with your friends. Also, we'd love to know what topics you'd like to hear more about. To stay updated on the latest, join us on our mailing list at chatwithnomads.com. You can also find more travel and nomading tips at Nomads Unveiled. That's NOMADSUNVEILED.com. Start living your dreams today. We'll catch you in the next episode.